This is the Wrestling Old Head. You have entered the portal of pro wrestling.
What the world is watching.
What's up, you guys? It's the Wrestling Old Head. Today we're predicting the WWE Hall of Fame inductees for the 2026 year. And last year I didn't do so hot, right? There were a lot of things that I thought they were going to go with. They went in an entirely different direction. And there's been an addition to the WWE Hall of Fame where they do great matches and induct them in the Hall of Fame. Last year they had Bret Hart against Steve Austin from WrestleMania 13 inducted into the Hall of Fame. So we're going to try to predict which match they're going to add to the Hall of Fame, and also some of the inductees for this year or for 2026 event. So let's get right into it. For one of the first inductees into the Hall of Fame was someone that I had predicted last year that they have not added, and that is Psycho Sid. Sid, rest in peace, is one of the greatest picks for the Hall of Fame that you could ever hope for. The man was a generational talent from WCW to the WWF, and the brief stint that he had in ECW, everywhere Sid went, he brought an energy and an aura that was infectious. Fans all over the world remember the power bomb. They remember his psycho laugh. They remember the way that he came into the ring. One of the most memorable moments in WWF history was the Madison Square Garden match that Sid had with Shawn Michaels, where by the end of it, Sid was the most over guy in that match. The crowd loved Sid, and they booed Shawn Michaels in New York City. Sid has yet to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. He has since passed on. I don't know what kind of situation that Vince had with Sid or that the executives front office had with Sid, but that should all be washed away knowing that Paul Levesque is now at the helm, pun intended, and that they're moving forward with bringing guys back and bringing them home. Bring Sid home and put him in the Hall of Fame. It is way overdue. He should have been in there a long time ago, and I hope that in 2026 this is the year where they bring Psycho Sid into the WWE Hall of Fame. Moving on from that, there is one guy that is very polarizing in the WWE universe, and it's Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette has not been inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame. I believe maybe the Midnight Express, but for Jim Cornette not to be in the Hall of Fame, it just doesn't feel right. Jim Cornette now, they can be seen in the Jim Cornette Experience, this podcast that he has on YouTube, all across all other platforms. It gets a lot of traffic. And I know it's going to take a long time. It's going to take a lot to get Jim Cornette out of his house, out of his little comfort zone. But I believe the WWE can make a great offer for him. And maybe they can do something where Jim Cornette can come out and he can also talk about Bobby Eaton, can talk about Stan Lane, can talk about Dennis Condrey. A Jim Cornette Hall of Fame speech would be one that you would not want to miss, for better or for worse. Whether you don't like the guy or whether you like the guy, this is an opportunity for Jim Cornette to get his flowers, because the things that he has done over the years, the parallels between himself and Paul Heyman, can go unnoticed. Jim Cornette, whether you love him or you hate him, this guy has been influential in professional wrestling for over 4 decades, almost 5 decades, okay? It's time in 2026 to put Jim Cornette in the WWE Hall of Fame. Now we're going to move on to the women. It is a shame to me that this person hasn't been put in the Hall of Fame. There's actually 2, and I'm going to mention both of these women because they are trailblazers and because they are the ones that ushered in a new era in professional wrestling in regards to the women's division. And that is Mickie James, who was recently a coach on the LFG program for the WWE. And the other is Victoria. Both of them trailblazers in professional wrestling, pioneers in the women's division. The reason why you see such great talent in the WWE women's division across the board, whether it be Evolve, NXT, SmackDown, Raw, it's because of those 2 women, Mickie James and Victoria. They can go unnoticed no more. It is time to put them into the WWE Hall of Fame, and my hope is that in 2026, one or both of those women get their rightful call up and are put in the WWE Hall of Fame. And last, but certainly not least, you have to have a celebrity. You have to put a celebrity in the WWE Hall of Fame. And there is none better than Cyndi Lauper. In 1984, the first WrestleMania, Captain Lou Albano. If you hadn't run into Cyndi Lauper and they'd done the music videos and all that, then we might not have seen her there. But because she was there, it garnered so much attention, so much publicity, that it put WWF in the stratosphere. Now, I'm not saying it was solely because of Cyndi Lauper, but she certainly helped. From her music videos, where she had professional wrestlers like King Kong Bundy and Lou Albano, she was one of the first celebrities to show up in the WWF. And for her not to be in the WWF, WWE Hall of Fame, it's crazy to me. It boggles my mind. Now, I understand that Cyndi Lauper has said that she doesn't want to be in the WWF Hall of Fame / WWE, but I believe it is time. It is time to put Cyndi Lauper in the Hall of Fame, to start the way and pave the way for these other celebrities that have come since. Guys like Bob Barker, Lawrence Taylor, who should be in the WWE Hall of Fame as well. He main evented WrestleMania. He did a good job for a non-wrestler, and he set the tone. But before you put Lawrence Taylor in the WWE Hall of Fame, I personally feel they need to find a way, whatever it is that they do, to put Cyndi Lauper in the WWE Hall of Fame. Now we're going to talk about the matches. Now, obviously, John Cena is retiring at the end of this year. His final match is going to be towards the end of December. And for all intents and purposes, we're not going to see him around for a while. Then I started to wonder, well, maybe if they induct one of his matches into the Hall of Fame, they can sneak him back to at least be on the stage with some of the other inductees and get a little bit more press because of that. John Cena returns to the WWE, but not for what you think. I can see the headlines now. So I thought, what match from John Cena could go into the Hall of Fame? And one of the biggest ones that I can think of, aside from the match that he had with Rob Van Dam, although that was considered ECW One Night Stand, and so I don't know if they're going to do that, was his match with CM Punk at the 2011 Money in the Bank. But then I wondered, well, if of all matches that they can put in the Hall of Fame, they could probably wait to put that on a little bit longer. So then I went in a different direction. And I went, what classic matches in the WWE / WWF history are some of the most talked about matches to this day? Now, they already did Steve Austin and Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13. Great match. Ken Shamrock from the UFC was a part of that match. It was crazy that they didn't bring Ken Shamrock in, but maybe he wouldn't go. But he was the referee, the special enforcer for that match. He should have been at least there. So then I thought, what other matches are still talked about to this day? And a light bulb went off. The Undertaker against Mankind in a Hell in a Cell at the King of the Ring, 1997. Historic for all kinds of reasons, and still talked about to this day. Now you get The Undertaker to come back. Obviously, he's been in and around the WWE backstage, either helping out road agent duties, producing duties, a part of LFG. His podcast is on fire. And Mick Foley. It's been a while since we've seen Mick Foley. And I think at this point, a return of Mick Foley to talk about this Hell in a Cell match would be great. So, for all of the reasons that the WWE is doing greatest matches in the Hall of Fame, the one match that I can think of that needs to be included and should be included in the 2026 Hall of Fame is The Undertaker against Mankind. Everything from Jim Ross' classic commentating of that match. By God, I think they killed him. Terry Funk for coming out and trying to save the match by getting involved and taking the chokeslam from hell. Mankind / Mick Foley going over the top of the cage through a table where legitimately I thought he was dead. When he gets back up onto the cage and falls through the top of the cage, hits the ring, the chair comes over his face, and he looked like he had a booger on the top of his lip, but it was his tooth. There are parts of that match that to this day Mick Foley cannot remember. The intensity, the suspense, the emotional connectivity to that sequence. And to this day, it shocks me that wasn't the main event, okay? God bless Steve Austin and Kane for trying to come up and follow that. But they had to follow that. In a first blood match, no less. But the Undertaker and Mankind's match, they've had classic matches all around. They had a Buried Alive match. They had a Boiler Room Brawl. They've had matches that have been great. That match is etched in the memory of fans that were around during that time, whether they were in that arena or watching on pay-per-view, and newer fans. And they won't forget it. It'll be remembered forever. It's in the pantheon of great memorable matches in WWF/WWE history, and it should be in the Hall of Fame come 2026. So that's what I got. Those are my predictions. That's what I'm expecting to see at the WWE Hall of Fame. Let's see how I do. Let's see if I do good this time, because last year wasn't so hot. But I definitely brought Victoria and Sid back this year because I feel like they need to be in the Hall of Fame. So I'm rolling the dice, and I'm predicting those two in 2026, just like I proposed that they would be in the Hall of Fame in 2025. But what do you guys think? What do you think is going to be the match that gets inducted? Who are your favorite inductees that you would like to see in the WWE Hall of Fame? Let me know down below in the comments. Thumbs up on the way out, you guys. And don't forget to hit that subscribe and notifications bell so that you know when I drop from the portal of pro wrestling that hotness that you know and love. This is the Wrestling Old Head. Stay tuned for more.